Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is on autism. I've been completely anticipating this one because it's something that I get really excited about. As I told you last week, my daughter was diagnosed at the age of 2, so I want to tell you the story as to how I found out, how she was diagnosed, the steps we've taken, and where she's at now. So let me go ahead and go back to the beginning. So around 18 months, I was taking her to her pediatrician at the time, which was my pediatrician growing up, so I did trust her. And she was 18 months old. I started seeing, like, she would learn how to say mama, papa, and then all of a sudden she just would forget how to say certain things. So I don't know, it was kind of weird, you know, or like besito, like to throw a kiss, like she would do it and then all of a sudden it's like she would forget how to do it. It felt like she was regressing in her development. And I would mention it to her doctor, and her doctor's like, oh, but everybody learns, you know, every child learns how to speak at their own rate. Give her a chance, give her a chance, give her a chance. I felt this gut feeling. I mean, maybe it's an instinct, maybe, I don't know what it is, but I felt it deep down inside. And I'm the kind of person that if I can get my child help or I can get myself help before it's too late, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, because that is something I prioritize in front of anything. So I kept telling the doctor, and she's like, no. So on her 2-year exam, she looked at her, she said everything's perfect, don't worry. And then I let Jade, or I went with my sister, I believe, and we let Jade walk. And I was pregnant at the time with my son. And the pediatrician looks at my daughter's pacing back and forth and hand clapping, and she's doing the arm flapping. And you call her and there's no eye contact. She wouldn't turn around to her name. And I'm looking at the doctor, I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. And she's like, oh, well, I don't like what I'm seeing, and you know what, I can't see her anymore. I'm gonna have to send her to my colleague. These are signs of autism. And I was like, you don't like what you're seeing? I mean, what do you... wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're telling me you don't like what you're seeing because there are signs of autism? So I left there completely offended, not because she thought my daughter had autism, because she didn't like what she was seeing. Because in my heart, I was like, okay, if she has autism, we gotta face this head on, not, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing. So right from that moment, I'm like, I'm never coming back to this lady. And what's sad is that she was my pediatrician growing up. But mama bear instincts kicked in, and I was like, you know what? I'm not coming back here. And I don't want my daughter to feel like she's not wanted, you know? And so from there, I started Googling. And I started looking for pediatricians that specialize in development and specialize in growth and all that kind of stuff. So I found one. And during the time I was pregnant, extra nervous, and you know, this whole time I'm thinking, you know, I'm watching her, and you start becoming hyper vigilant. You start like watching every move, and then you start teaching her things, and at the same time you feel like your child has something, but at the same time you're in denial, because you're like, no, it's not autism. No, she doesn't have the infamous A word, as I like to call it. The whole time you're pregnant, the whole time you have your beautiful baby, the whole time, that's the infamous word that you never want to hear. And I'm here to speak out in the open, because that is the word that I was most afraid of. And I think God put it in my life, because now I see why it's such a blessing. And that's what I want to discuss with you guys. And I want to help you guys see it that way, because at first I wasn't devastated. I was more like numb. I was more like in shock. I was like, autism. All right. What do I gotta learn? What do I gotta do? And I put in so much action that I didn't have time to feel bad. I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have time to be like, oh, why me? I never felt that way. So, and I loved her so much, no matter what. It's just so much love that I have for her that it doesn't make a difference whether she was missing a limb or she had some sort of other disability. It's just, it's my child, my heart, my soul, and I love her brother just the same. And he's so far neurotypical, which is what we call the children that are not autistic, and he's showing neurotypical signs. He just turned 2, he's speaking, he's engaging in conversation, he answers to his name, He labels things, he calls us, and he has really good eye contact, things like that. So with Jade, I started doing research, I started watching all of her behaviors, and it's funny because when she was smaller, she did this one thing one time, because I'm very OCD, I like to say I'm OCD, but it's like, I like things a certain way, and she had a sticky note in her hand, and she went down my hallway scratching the wall with a sticky note, and then she went around, and then she scratched the wall with a sticky note, and then she went around again, and then she scratched the note with the sticky note, the wall with the sticky note, and I'm like, okay, this is like kind of reassuring that gut feeling I'm having. And the fact that I would call her and she wouldn't answer, and then we would hang out with our best friends, and their daughter was just like trying to learn from us so much, and our daughter was just like, I don't care about you guys, you know? So it was like a huge difference. And here we are thinking our friends' kids are weird, you know, and it's funny. And so basically, we take her to the new doctor, and I'm sitting there. By the way, I'm going through my divorce at this time. And let me adjust the camera because it's a little bit crooked. Okay, so I'm going through my divorce, pregnant with my son, go to this new pediatrician, and the pediatrician just comes into the room, and she goes, it's just autism. I looked at her, and I was like, what? This breath of heaviness just left my body, left the room, left the clinic, left the earth, left everything. And I just looked at her, I'm like, what do you mean it's just autism? She's like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'm like, I'm sorry? And she's like, yeah, we caught it early. We put her through therapy. She gave her a book. Jade was flipping through the pages. She goes, she's going to be just fine. And I was like, I'm sorry? Like, compared to the first reaction from the first pediatrician to this one, I was just like, okay, wait a minute. I was so confused, but relieved at the same time. And I just stayed there like, okay. So she's like, I'm going to give you referrals to all the different therapists. And even though part of my heart was in denial, and I was like, no, you know, maybe it's not autism. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe, you know, it didn't stop me from putting her through therapy, because I figured if you put her through occupational therapy, through physical therapy, through speech, through behavioral therapy, if you're putting her through all of these therapies, even if she wasn't autistic, let's say, these therapies are going to help push her forward, whether she was a neurotypical child or a child with autism. Regardless of the fact, it's going to help her propel forward. So why would I stop or hinder my child because of my own denial? And because of my own pride, maybe? Why would I do that to my child selfishly if I'm getting the resources, I'm getting it paid for by her insurance? I'm just going to put her through the steps, and maybe at the end they tell me, oh no, it wasn't autism. Okay, but I put her through therapy. What harm did it do? None. There was no harm done to my child. There was only progression. And if they do tell me, hey, it was autism, but we were able to help, then there's no looking back and saying, wow, I should have put her through therapy a long time ago. Because what happens is that the brain in a child is really moldable, because through their development, the brain changes. So up until the age of 5, the brain is like Play-Doh. So basically, the more you learn, the more the brain starts moving. I'm sorry if the camera's moving a little bit. It's a little bit windy outside and I have the window open. So the brain starts like forming and shifting, just like Play-Doh. Imagine a blob of Play-Doh. So with therapy, your brain is like, you know, forming. And up until the age of 5, you can turn your brain into whatever you want it to be. Once you hit that 5-year-old mark, the brain is so much harder to reform and reshape that it takes 2, 3, 4 times as long to reshape the brain. Yes, it's still possible, but it's so much harder. So this is why they're pushing the therapy and pushing the therapy and pushing the therapy so much in the younger children, and trying to diagnose earlier and earlier, because you can reshape the brain faster and faster and faster. So the point is that if you're in denial, you don't want to believe your child has autism or has any kind of special need, it's, you gotta kind of put your heart aside and use your logic. And it's hard because I was there, but therapy will not harm your child. Yes, it's a little difficult having to make it to the therapy appointments, having to make it to 4 different therapies all week long. It's exhausting, yes, but you're putting your child first. You're helping your child succeed. You're helping your child come forward. There's no better feeling than having my daughter now come up to me and say, Mama or Mommy, I want juice, or Mommy, I want milk. My daughter did not address me as Mommy till about maybe 8-9 months ago, and she is 4 years old now. I was heartbroken. And people would ask me, oh, what does she call you? And I'm like, nothing. It hurts, guys. It hurts. As a mother of a child with autism, as a mother, as a first-time mom, you're pregnant and you're imagining your child's voice. You're imagining, what's my baby gonna sound like? And then you find out it's a girl. You're like, oh, this sweet little voice, this sweet little... And then, you know, you find out about the autism, and then you're like, why isn't my child speaking? And then you never get that gratification of being called mama. And it hurts. It's like a jab to the heart. So I find out about her diagnosis, and we take her to, actually from there we take her to the neurologist, and that's where we get her official diagnosis with her diagnosis letter and everything. And they basically take a look at her, see how she responds, see how she communicates, and they go ahead and diagnose her. She's not on any medication or anything like that. They think that her autism is very mild. And the fact that she started therapy so early, at the age of 2, has helped her tremendously. So she has a lot of sensory things going on, which is the next thing I'm going to get into. But I want to finish the diagnosis part and my feelings and all of that during the time. So during my divorce, at the time I had a restraining order, so it's not like I could even talk to her father about anything. The only people I had was my family, and my dad was like, oh, she doesn't have autism, and he was just eating at my brain because he's very full of pride, and nobody understood what autism was, and we hadn't dealt with it in our family ever. This was the first time. So as I did my research, I started like checking off the checklist. I'm like, yeah, she does that, she does that, she does that. I'm like, okay, let me embrace this. Let me embrace this. This is fine. And that's it. I never doubted it again. Then I started to work with her, and I started getting little cards showing her shapes, showing her colors. I started spending more one-on-one time with her while I was still pregnant, before the baby came. So at the same time, I was feeling so guilty because I was like, okay, now I'm pregnant, I'm bringing another child into this world, and my daughter really needs me. And I was just, I would cry about that. I will cry, and I'm like, my daughter needs me, and now I'm bringing another being into this world. And let me tell you, my son has been a blessing. My son, as I said, is neurotypical, and he has helped my daughter tremendously. They play, they hide from each other, they play tag, they chase each other, they hide from each other. I think I said that already. They cover up for each other. When they're taking a bath, my son will throw the toys out of the tub, and I'm watching them, and they don't know I'm watching them. And my daughter runs out to get the toys to put them back into the tub because she knows that her brother's gonna get in trouble for wetting the floor, and because it looks like a pool in there by the time they're done. But she goes, she gets the toys, and she runs back into the bathtub like, no, nothing happened. Like, she protects him, and he does the same for her, which is the cutest thing. And like, he'll be like, oh, pizza, like he knows pizza for him, and then he'll be like, Jade, pizza, like invites her to eat and things like that. And truly, it's been a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of sweating, a lot of tears, maybe blood. I'm sure I've gotten cut and bruised and all sorts of stuff in my parenthood, but it's been such a journey that, wow, it was worth having my son and my daughter so close together, and he's helped her just propel, and he role plays, and she'll she'll look at him like, oh, what are you doing? And then she'll copy him. And then this year, she turned 4 in November. She's a Scorpio baby. I know. So, she turned 4. And we started her in pre-K this year at an elementary school. And her progress is tremendous. Like, now she understands routine. She understands that she has to sit down to eat. When my boyfriend came into the picture, he helped so much because I was raised very, do whatever you want, everything's okay, everything's this, everything's that. My boyfriend came from a very structured household, very, very structured. So when he came in, he's like, okay, this is a mess. So he kind of helped clean up, and he helped me structure the kids and get them on a routine. He helped me crib train my son, which was really hard because I'm very big on co-sleeping, and I believe that it saves children from SIDS. I'm very big on that, and maybe I'll make an episode about that. I might. But I co-slept with both of my children, and he helped me after Jackson was like he was like a year and something. He helped me crib train him, which was very difficult, but it worked. And now at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., I put him, we lay him down, we give him his bottle, we tell him good night. He knows the whole process, the whole routine. He's like, night, turns around, closes his eyes, and goes to sleep, and he sleeps till the next morning. And sometimes he'll cry, sometimes he'll want to come into bed with us. He'll be cold, or he's warm, or something. But it's awesome, because before I didn't have any time for myself. I would go to sleep with him at 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and it was exhausting. And then now I have to get up early to take my daughter to school, and it's a whole new ball game. So thanks to him, he taught Jade how to eat with a spoon. He sat there, and I cringe when I see a mess. I cringe when I see food everywhere. So he sat there very patiently and helped her scoop to her mouth. And I was teaching her when she was smaller, because she had her high chair, everything was controlled, everything was all good. But then he came in and taught her on a table, like no big deal. And I'm looking at them like, okay, I can't be here. Like, I cannot stand these messes. It was like macaroni and cheese or rice and beans everywhere. It was just too much for me. So from there, he taught her, to eat, and now she eats so amazingly, and she's amazing. So the thing that she had the biggest trouble with was her sensory. She's a sensory seeker, so she likes a lot of pressure. Like when she's upset, we hug her tight, help her regulate her body, because that means that her nerves and everything they're just shooting and firing all over the place. So we were having issues putting her to sleep. Her pediatrician had given her melatonin for some time to help her sleep. We had her on that for, I want to say, almost a year. But we saw a regression in her. During the day, she was like a zombie. She was just like, she wasn't learning very much. She wasn't Jade. So, because she's a very bright, happy little girl. And so we decided to look into sensory. Once we got her with a new occupational therapist, we started asking questions. This is my boyfriend and I. My boyfriend has helped me through this journey like you couldn't imagine. And through this episode, I have a special treat that I want to show you guys, and I'll get into that later. So, we talked to the occupational therapist, and she gave us a bunch of ideas to help her sleep. So we started waking her up really early, not letting her nap, which sounds horrible, but it did help regulate her sleep schedule. And what we did was get blackout curtains, which actually I have some here. These are my blackout curtains for my room because I like to sleep in the pitch black room. But this part, the light does not come through. So they're amazing. The brand is Eclipse. You can get them at Walmart. They're cheap. And they black out your room. So we blocked out her visual, so she couldn't have any kind of light come in from outside. We got her white noise, which we got her a fan. You have a fan running, and that's automatically white noise, so you're blocking her auditory. She cannot hear anything from outside. She can't see. Then we got her heavier blankets to give her that pressure that makes her feel safe. And that pressure, sorry, that's my son playing. and it gave her that pressure, so it's like that touch feeling. So we're already blocking out 3 senses. And we would give her a bath right before bed with lavender and chamomile, so that was the relaxation for her smell. And we would give her like a little bit of milk before bed, or something that she would like, a little treat before bed. Nothing with sugar, because sugar would like make her go nuts. Like, it would just, she would like wow. Even now, if I give her sugar before bed, she has like a spurt of an hour that she goes back and forth, and then she crashes. So there's no sugar past 7, unfortunately. So, but we'll give her something like milk. So we attacked all of her senses, her visual, her smell with her bath, and we would get her a lotion that would stay in her skin, which was the lavender and chamomile. We started buying it at Bath and Body Works. Started getting very expensive because we would use it every single night. And then we found a very similar one at Walmart, which is super cheap. It's a huge bottle like this called Baby Magic, and it's like $3.88 for huge soap for the bath, and then the lotion. So that's what we buy now. And let me tell you, that is amazing. We use it for both the kids, and they're just, after their baths, they're relaxed, they're in a different mood, they're in a different tone, they're amazing. And so that helped a lot. So visual, blackout curtains. Auditory, white noise. Touch is the heavy blankets. And the smell was the chamomile and lavender soap and lotion. And the last one was, oh, the something to have like milk or something before bed for the taste. So basically attack all the senses. My daughter's a sensory seeker. There are children with autism that are sensory avoiders, and in that case I really can't speak, because I'm speaking from personal experience with the kind of autism that my daughter has. I can't speak from a professional standpoint in any sense of the term, because I'm speaking from my parenthood and my personal experience through my journey with her. So unfortunately, if your child is a sensory avoider, where they can't even stand the tags on their clothes, or they can't stand being touched, and they're extremely sensitive, that's something that unfortunately I can't help you through. But I'm sure there's plenty of help on YouTube or through your therapists, pediatricians, things like that. There's plenty of help out there for that. But if your child is a sensory seeker, like Jade, there are many things that you can do to help, that I know of in this case. So a lot of things that help are joint compressions. I'm gonna get her into this video probably later. I'll record a clip where I do the joint compressions, where I show you how to calm her down, and also a brushing technique that we learned that helps with the senses, helps calm her down, helps soothe her. I also want to record different calming techniques that my boyfriend and I have come up with to help her calm down. And she's high functioning. She knows her alphabet, she knows her numbers, she knows so much. She knows who we are, she recognizes places, she knows mommy's house, she knows when she's at school, she knows. She's amazing. So she is incredibly bright, incredibly bright. Autism is like extreme inner intelligence. It's just getting it out. That's all we gotta work on, is getting it out. Autism, if you don't know about it and you don't know what it is, yes, it's very scary. But once you learn, once you get that knowledge, and once you understand, and once you go and help your child, and you apply all these things to help your child, it's not as scary anymore. And denial, it's a waste of time, honestly. It's better to embrace it and just be like, all right, what does my kid need? What does my kid need? What does my kid need? All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Like, my daughter needs to be desensitized sometimes, and we have to stick her in the sand. I hate it. Or dirt. I hate it. I hate it. I hate dirt. I can't stand it. But I have to do things out of my own comfort zone to help her. And then you see her playing with the sand, and she's all like having a good time with the dirt, and then she'll wipe, and then her face is all black, and I'm like, okay, this is why baths were invented. I can handle this. This is okay. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And that's when I have to calm my own anxiety. But autism can be fun if you can switch your perspective. So talk to people that know about autism. Talk to people that can brighten up your perspective, because a lot of people are like, oh, poor thing. No, these little children are more intelligent than you could ever imagine. They manipulate you. They'll sit there and they're like, oh, and they do this fake cry, and you're looking at them like, I know that's a fake cry, you're manipulating me, what do you want? And I'll look at her, I'm like, what do you want? And she'll be like, and then her brother will come running in, he'll be like, ouch, my head. And that's because she hit him and she's trying to act like the victim. And I'm like, oh, I see what happened. So they're little master manipulators, let me tell you. But so on a good perspective, autism is fun because, how do I put it? Neurotypical children, I have fun with my son too. Like, neurotypical children will go and they'll learn just watching. And then with autism, you have to break your brain a little bit. You have to be like, okay, she's not learning just from watching, so let me figure out a way to teach her. So it's kind of like you're challenging yourself to teach her to do better, or him to do better, and it's like, it's amazing. And then when you put them through therapy and they come home with something new, or like yesterday she was singing the Muffin Man, and she's still working on her speech, and she was like, do you know the Muffin Man? So it's Muffin with peace. And I'm like, but I didn't recognize the song at first, and my sister's like, you know what she's singing, right? I was like, no. And she goes, do you know the Muffin Man? And I'm listening to her, she goes, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. It was so funny. So those are the moments that I cherish, that I take so dear in my heart. And I think autism is so amazing. It's amazing. And whether it's due to vaccines, due to genetics, due to whatever it's due to. Yes, she was vaccinated on time. She was vaccinated like she was supposed to be vaccinated. Now with my son, I'm taking my time to vaccinate him because I don't know what the truth is. Nobody does. It's a theory here, a theory there. Nobody knows what the truth is. So I was 24 when I had Jade. I was a baby myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, yeah, do whatever she needs. I never thought that the MMR or separating the vaccines or putting them together or anything, I didn't know that would be an issue. I had no idea. So with my son, I'm taking precautions. I'm taking it slowly. So far, so good. He has his varicella shot. I believe in vaccines, don't get me wrong. I believe in them. I'm just taking my time with them. Because doing them all at once, I don't know if something like that happened with my daughter, because she was developing, and then all of a sudden it was like she regressed, and it was like, what happened? So I don't know. But there's so many theories that we don't know. So autism came into my life, regardless of how it happened, as a blessing to teach me. I have such a soft spot now for special needs, and it used to be something that scared me. I'm gonna be very transparent. It would scare me. I would see a child in a wheelchair or a child, it would scare me. I wouldn't think that I could handle it. And now that my child has special needs, it's like I want to hug all these children, and I want to be there for them, and I want to help them, and I want to, oh my goodness, it's just seeing. You find a different sense of gratitude when you look at them, because they're always happy. Yes, they have their tantrums. Yes, they have, but when you see these children, any child is happy. Let's be real. Any child can be happy. But when you see children with special needs, they're in their own little worlds where this, many of the times, very dark world doesn't affect them, because they're in their little dream world. They're happy. They feel just content in their own little bubble, and it's like I look at them and I'm like, I want to be in your bubble, because their eyes are glowing and their smiles are brilliant, and I can't explain it. I look at my daughter and I'm like, what are you daydreaming about? Because I want to be there too. And I mean, my son does too, but you know what I mean. It's a different, they have a different reality, which is kind of like the Matrix. So it's just fascinating to me that, I don't know, it's just a different world. And now that I have embraced it, now that I have knowledge of it, now that I've learned what I need to do and learn special needs, that is a world for me. Let me tell you, I love it. And my daughter has a special needs classroom. It's all inclusive with autistic children. So her whole building is special needs, and going in there every morning just brightens my heart. And I see all the children smiling, and it's just such a blessing. It's such a good start to my day. And then I come home just grateful because these children are just sorry, my camera's falling. So these children are just, they show us another way to be grateful in life. I'm just gonna hold it. They show us another way to be grateful in life and take us out of our routine, out of our reality sometimes. And it's just something to be grateful for. So that's my message. And sorry, it's very shaky. And just to let you know, my boyfriend and I finally came to terms on a bed sheet, on a bed set. So here it is. It's from Macy's. It was in the final X section, and it was actually $50. Isn't that amazing? It's so comfortable, and it's so soft, and it's amazing. So anyway, there you go. And so if you have children with special needs, if you're just learning about special needs, if you have family members with special needs and you want to learn more, you have questions, you want to relate, you want to tell me your stories, I would love to hear them. I love talking about this. So let me know. And I am very excited to hear from you. Subscribe to my page, like my videos, and I have a whole bunch of videos that you can watch. Maybe you can relate to, maybe you know somebody that can relate to them. Just share it. Send it to them on Facebook, send it to them on Instagram, whatever you can do, or send them a link. So alrighty guys, I'll see you next week.